90 hours. That's how long it took me to roll the credits on Dragon Age Inquisition. It's not only one of the most expansive RPGs I've ever played, but one of the few that successfully fills its gorgeous, massive world with meaningful things to do and see. A frustratingly vague plot and typical BioWare bugginess drag it down a bit, but both in combat and out, Inquisition has all the RPG depth of Dragon Age Origins, plus the added thrill of exploring a fantastic open world.
Templars, Val Royo is unworthy of our protection. We march.
At Inquisition's core is the power resource, which is used as a measurement of your force's overall strength. See, you aren't just the leader of some merry band of adventurers here, but the focal point of a large-scale mission to bring reform and order to a land ripped apart by civil war and political strife. Your organization has tons of tiny moving parts to manage, but major actions, such as scouting new regions and undertaking new story missions, require power. This gives purpose to all the side questing and sightseeing by directly tying it to story progression. Some of Inquisition's many maps seemed restrictive when I first set foot in them, but they soon open up into vast sandboxes. After spending hours exploring and questing, I was amazed at how many quests and points of interest had filled out on the extremely useful quest map. No matter how many rifts I closed or hidden shards I found, I always felt impressed by how much more there was to do in Inquisition. That includes countless hours of off-the-beaten-path exploration. The diverse landscapes of Ferelden and Orlais strike a smart balance between open spaces and set, directed paths. Unclaimed keeps and unexplored ranges on the horizon kept tempting me away from my current objective, while simple, clear pathways kept me from ever feeling truly lost. In fact, I never once felt like I'd hit a dead end, because you can barely walk in any direction for a minute without stumbling upon something to do, and amazingly, none of it ever feels like filler. That's partly because of what a great job Inquisition does of contextualizing its different pieces.
Bianca and I have been through a lot together.
You named your crossbow Bianca?
Of course. And she'll be great company in the valley.
Whether it's with a well-delivered piece of dialogue or a smartly written bit of supporting lore, every quest you undertake has an air of being something more important than the simple fetch or kill task it actually is. But better still, it all leads to tangible rewards through a series of well-designed gameplay and progression systems that give Inquisition's huge body of content the spine and structure required to keep me engaged.
Looks like they could use a hand.
Inquisition's new tactical view mode lets you pause and give orders at will, much like you could in Dragon Age Origins on PC. It takes a little getting used to, especially when the camera decides to misbehave, but once you come to grips with it, it becomes a powerful tool for coordinating your party. You can hang back and set traps for overzealous enemies, have your rogues sneak around for flanking bonuses, orchestrate explosive ability combos between party members, and much more. Inquisition successfully marries the measured approach of old-school BioWare games with the flashier, action-oriented approach of Dragon Age 2 and the later Mass Effect games. The result is combat that feels pleasingly punchy when controlled directly and tactically sound when played like a puppeteer. Where Inquisition stumbles, though, is in its story. It gets off to a vague start and never really congeals. The Dragon Age universe is rich with impressively nuanced lore and socio-political intrigue, but Inquisition lacks the heart and pathos of BioWare's best games. There are some interesting individual beats, but the how and why that's supposed to connect them all is very tenuous. By the time the story reached its climax, I cared about some of the characters, but I had little connection to what was at stake or Inquisition's completely forgettable villain. Ultimately, the tale I was invested in was the one I carved out with not only the major story decisions I made, but with where I spent my time, who I spent it with, and how I chose to run the Inquisition. The excellent party banter and the seemingly endless expanses of terrain to crawl and political problems to solve ensured that my story remained interesting even after the end credits had rolled. And one more thing to do after finishing the campaign is the surprisingly good online co-op, which has you leveling up a totally separate character to plow through a variety of dungeons with friends. It leverages the campaign's enjoyable combat and even the full-featured crafting system to boot. When I had finally slain my first dragon in Dragon Age Inquisition, I felt a little sad at the thought that I was probably beginning to exhaust its seemingly endless stream of content. But then I saw the quest ticker. Dragons slayed, 1 out of 10. In all my hours, I'd only ever seen 3. There are still entire sandboxes I haven't even stepped foot in, and parts of my castle I didn't even know I could upgrade. Despite its less than compelling plot, I still want to go back to explore and fight through every nook and cranny of Dragon Age Inquisition until every dragon's skull is mounted on my wall. For more on Dragon Age Inquisition, stay tuned to IGN.